gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Madness here on YouTube and StreamYard.com. It is Ghoul MF Michael Fletcher alongside Anthony Florio. We are awaiting the arrival of Michael Bullock. If he comes in, great. If he doesn't, then we'll probably see him tomorrow night. So let's dive right in. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, traditionally, we start out with NXT and AEW Dynamite. However, tonight we're going to start it with the recap of Forbidden Door that actually went down this past Sunday night. That was live from that was actually held from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, from the Scotiabank Arena. That was exclusively on Bleacher Report Live, pay per view, and others, affiliates around the world. We got a lot to talk about. So obviously there was four pre-show fights. We're not going to get into it, but we are getting into the main card. We started out with MJF versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the AEW World Title. Winner of the bout in 15 minutes and 30 seconds was MJF. Predictable outcome. Not the greatest match in the world. I would say it was a solid fight. It was a good match. But if you want to talk about, like, as far as how, the overall look of it, it was good, but it wasn't anything that would have blown us out of the water. I could say it was a 3-star bout. It was good for most part, but again, like I said, it wasn't the best match. And I think it could have been better in certain areas, certain elements. I think could have been a lot more better. But I'm not going to be too harsh on this match. I think, for the way that the show started and the match itself, it was good. I'll even say it was solid. I'm not calling it great. I'm not calling it a master class. I'm not calling it anything, remotely that. You'll get that later tonight. You'll get that later on where there was a master class. There was a great match. As a matter of fact, I'll even go as far to say not only a fight of the year, but possibly the greatest match in AEW history and maybe the greatest match in New Japan pro wrestling history. And we'll get that in a little bit. So, Anthony, it's yours.
2.5 to 3 is my rating, MF. They did a lot of storytelling in this bout. Instead of making this a work rate match, they had some good technical precision, but this contest was never going to live up to some of the others on the card, so they were smart to try something different. Tanahashi was able to hit a signature dragon screw. Now, let me rephrase that. I'm not going to do, my traditional full-on recaps because I know we have a lot to get into here in order to save time, so I'll just say it. I'll just make it a long story short. This was a decent bout, but it's unlikely this will be anyone's fight of the night, and it's not. So this was 2.5 to 3 for me. So with that being said, MF, set me up for the next match.
All right, and it was CM Punk versus Kojima, and it was CM Punk advancing in the Owen Hart Cup. Winning the match in 13 minutes and 40 seconds. So, Anthony, it's yours.
That was a 3.5. This was a 3.5 star match. This match ended up being longer than expected, but not in a bad way. Both men were having fun while beating the life out of each other, and that always makes it more entertaining for the crowd. So, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. 3.5 stars. MF, your thoughts?
I say 3.25, 3.5. You're absolutely right. It wasn't really the cup of tea match. It was fine. It was good. Better than expected, but it was good. So we'll move on. Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shibata versus Daniel Garcia for the International Championship. Orange Cassidy winning the match, 11 minutes and 15 seconds. Another 3-star bout. Good solid action up and down across the board. I cannot believe Cassidy won this, but then again, Cassidy is such a big star right now in AEW. There's really nothing more to add. So, Anthony, it's yours.
3.25 to 3.5 stars is the correct rating for this. The crowd loved every second of this one, and it was easy to see why. Everyone played to their strengths and worked together to make this, up to that point, the best fight of the night. That's really all there was to say. And Orange Cassidy continues to make that title the work rate title in AEW. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, this was a 3.25 to 3.5 star match. So MF set me up for the next match.
It was Sonata versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Sonata winning the match in 10 minutes and 45 seconds.
3 to 3.25. The I'll say it like this. It seemed like the crowd was a little surprised that Sonata hit that moonsault for the win, and the crowd was a little surprised by that finish. And it almost seemed like it might not have been the planned ending. Good performance, but the ending was a bit strange. But after the match was over, Jungle Boy Jack Perry turned heel when he attacked Hook, and the crowd booed and chanted as Hook was lying with his head in his hands. So we'll follow up on that later on as part of our Dynamite review. But for right now, this was a 3 to 3.25 star match. Another predictable outcome. But MF, the long-awaited heel turn of Jungle Boy, and it was executed well done.
It was executed well done. Yeah, 3. 3 is my rating for the match as well. Could have been better in certain areas, but it was solid for what it was worth. I enjoyed it. I really got nothing more to say on that. Next up we had was the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club in a 10-man tag. Elite wins it in 21 minutes and 25 seconds. All right. At the point this was the fight of the night, it was a 3.5 to 3.75. The only reason why I'm not pulling the trigger and going higher than this, the outcome is absolutely wrong. The Elite should have no business winning this match. My friends were saying it on Discord that night. We all were poo-pooing the ending. The Elite had no business winning this fight. This should have gone to the BCC. They should have won this. This should have been a more better victory for them to propel them to something down the line. But for the Elite to get this, it made no sense for me. And I was really annoyed with the ending of this match. So nothing more to say. 3.75 to 4. Anthony, go.
3.75 to 4. 100% agree with everything you just said, MF. And you're pissed off about the outcome. I'm even more pissed off about the outcome because, hello, I'm a BCC nut. You know that. So, and I was like, when I saw that outcome, I'm like, you got to be effing kidding me. Really? You're going to pull that BS on us? No. Unacceptable. However, this match had so much going on that you really need to see it for yourself. Every single wrestler had at least 1 or 2 moments that stood out, which is not always easy with that many people in the ring at once. And that's all there is to say on that. So if that's the first time I have proclaimed my fandom for the BCC, then if you didn't know before, now you know.
Now you know. Yep.
Yeah, and that means you, MF. So I got an immense respect for all those guys, and it's a damn shame they didn't win this match. But you think they were going to take that line down? Hell no. Wait till Dynamite. Wait till our Dynamite review with a humongous announcement that came out tonight. Mm-hmm. An announcement that was in the makings. A dirt sheet was reported about it, and we'll address it later. But I'm going to give it 3.75 to 4. I thought it was a 4.25 to 4.5, really, but it goes down to 3.75 to 4, like MF said, for the ending. So, and I'm being generous. I could have slammed this thing even harder. I could have gone on a full-on Jesse rant about this, but we don't have that kind of time. So, 3.75 to 4. Set me up for the next match, MF.
All right. Next up we had was Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale. Toni Storm winning the match in 10 minutes and 30 seconds.
3 stars, 3.25. Decent performance, but the interference was predictable and a little excessive. It made sense because of the feud AEW has been building for the Outcast, but it would have been nice to get at least one clean match from the champion on pay-per-view. In the end, that's a minor complaint. Both women made some small mistakes, but the match as a whole was a good showing, and that's really all there was to say on that. So this was 3 to 3.25 stars for me. So, I'm at your thoughts.
3 stars, no doubt about it. I thought they did a fine job with it. There's really nothing more to add here, so we're just gonna move right on. Next up was Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega, IWGP United States Heavyweight Title on the line. Winner of the bout, 39 minutes, 45 seconds, and new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion Will Ospreay. All right, Florio and I are going to go a couple of minutes for this fight because it deserves it.
Yes.
5 stars and beyond.
Yep.
6 stars, 7 stars, whatever. We could give it 10 out of 10 because that's what it was. Fight of the night. Fight of the year. Best match in AEW history. Greatest match in New Japan Pro Wrestling history. Done. It's over with. No debates, no arguments. This was a masterclass. Absolutely amazing professional wrestling from beginning to end, and the match was so damn good that you couldn't take your eyes off the TV. I wish they put this live on free TV for the whole world to see it because it deserves the airtime for this match. From beginning to end, it was slow in certain parts, but man, when it delivered, and it was unbelievable. There was one scary moment, that Tiger Driver that that Will Ospreay threw on Kenny Omega. I don't even know how Omega survived it. I don't know if he broke his freaking neck on that move. That was scary. That looked awful. There was people that were saying, oh my God, that was reminiscent of when Austin got ducked by Owen Hart, the 1997 Survivor Series, SummerSlam,
Yep.
1997,
There you go.
when his head was bounced off the mat. Or when Shawn Michaels got spiked by The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. Whatever the case may be, it was a horrific scene. It was scary. I hope and pray to God that Omega is okay. We did not see him tonight on the show, obviously. But man, that was unbelievable, incredible. There's not enough superlatives for this match alone. This was, without a doubt, probably one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen in my lifetime. So that tells you a lot about me because my wrestling knowledge goes all the way back to 1988. So that tells you everything you need to know about that match. Anthony Florio, it's yours, bro.
I don't know. Oh, okay. This match deserves it. So I think for this match only, I'll do my my detailed review like I usually do on our shows. Anyone who is familiar with the abilities of Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay already knows this was a great match. It's tough to say if they outdid their previous performance because they felt like totally different matches. The first one at Wrestle Kingdom was all about the tension of their first ever singles bout, whereas this one was about them trying to hurt each other. And then from there, I mean, what else is there to say? Too much recap stuff here, but I will say this though. MF said what needed to be said on this. 5-star classic. You could pull a Dave Meltzer and give it a 6 or a 7, or even higher than that. This was definitely this is to this point the fight of the year. There is no question about that whatsoever. And where do we even start? The only downside was Don Callis and a pair of masked security guards flanked Ospreay for his entrance. The crowd was chanting before they even did anything interesting. That is how hyped the fans were for this bout. Will Ospreay had a beautiful counter for a hip toss into an abdominal stretch. The way Will Ospreay slammed Kenny Omega's head into the announce table was nuts. Will Ospreay disrespected the Canadian flag in several ways, but Kenny Omega turned him inside out with a clothesline to make him pay for it. And there's just too many damn good spots to list all of them. And But MF said everything that needed to be said. I mean, he follows New Japan way longer and way more religiously than I do, and but to get an almost 40-minute match on pay-per-view, I mean, this match alone, MF, was worth the $50 price tag that AEW was charging for this event. To get on Bleacher Report or wherever everybody gets it. But I have BR, and I saw this match, and this match, I'll be honest with you, this match took a lot out of me, and I wasn't even in the match. I felt like I was in the match. I mean, but then again, we were exhausted from an exciting from the RWA show earlier in the day. But boy howdy, man, I mean, you couldn't help but be exhausted after this match was over, because that's how exciting and that's how breathtaking it was from the opening bell to the very end. And to see a match like that, I mean, that was, like I said, this match alone was well worth the $50 price tag that AEW was charging for this. So if you have BR like I do and you order the event, you can relive it anytime you want. You certainly can. But for MF and everybody else who may not have ordered the pay-per-view or whatever, go out of your way to find it. See if anybody has it on like YouTube or Daily Motion or something like that, or some various means somewhere. I don't know, but go out of your way to see this match. You'll be exhausted at the end, yes, but it'll be damn worth it. So I know I was. So 5-star classic fight of the night, and at this point, it's our professional wrestling match of the year. And I would not at all be surprised, MF, if at the end of the year, in about 6 months or so, when we do our year-end review show, that we call this our fight of the year. Some other match, whether it's AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact, or WWE, it's going to have to go a long way to try to top that. And good luck to any other match and any other promotion to try to top this. It's gonna take one hell of an effort to do it. So, masterclass, you damn right it was. Nothing more to say, MF. Let's move on. Set me up for the next match.
Next up that we'd had on the card after that was a 6-man tag team fight, as it was Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki. They went up against Tetsuya Naito, Darby Allin, and Sting. The face team winning the match in 15 minutes and 10 seconds. Anthony, it's yours.
I'll give it about 3 1/4 to 3.5 here. This was a good one to stick between Ospreay Omega and Danielson Okada. This was never going to be a match of the year candidate, so it worked as a great break between the two most anticipated matches on the card. Even though this was not a show stealer, it was still an entertaining bout, especially when Minoru Suzuki was in the ring. And after a bit of a back and forth, Tetsuya Naito was able to keep Suzuki down for the pin to get the win. And that's really all there is for me to say on that. So it was Bowling Ball Head who took the fall there. I'm not at all surprised. I had a feeling he would. So but no surprise here with the outcome. And I'll admit, MF, this is one of the rare times that I got to see Naito do his thing, and solid outing for him. So, of course, you know him way better than I do, because like I said, you follow New Japan a lot more than I do, a lot more religiously than I do. But hey, I'll give him credit where it was due. So 3 1/4, 3.5. This was the perfect match to put between the two big main events. So
obviously, yeah, they kind of played a little bit of the situation. They could have gone a little more deeper into it, but they didn't. They kind of held on. Naito, you could tell he definitely was there, but you didn't see the full arsenal. You did not see the full arsenal on Naito. Even I'll even say you know how sadistic Minoru Suzuki can get, and I thought he kind of held back a little bit. I know some people thrashed this fight, said that this was a waste of time. I know there's some people out there that absolutely crushed this fight, saying that, you know what, this fight didn't even deserve to be on a Forbidden Door. Look, you're not going to please everybody. It was a fine match. It was, like you said, it was a good placeholder than anything else. So we're going to move on. This was about a 2.5 to 3. Main event, Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. And it was Bryan Danielson winning the match in 27 minutes and 40 seconds. This, all right, if you found out what happened during the fight, you're wondering, man, what the hell happened? It seems like something's not right. Something's not right. Well, we found out in the media scrum something definitely was not right. Bryan Danielson broke his arm about 10 minutes in that fight and finished the final 17 minutes with a broken arm. That's why the match ended the way it did. Now, there's some rumors going around that was a flash finish, that some people were saying, was Danielson supposed to win that match and not Okada? There's a lot of debate about how the fight ended, but look, it was still a great match. It was about a 4.25, 4.5 star match. It was good for what it was worth. I'm shocked that Okada won, though. Okada lost. That was the thing that a lot of people were talking about, was that Okada comes all the way from Japan to put Danielson over. Now that's huge on Okada's part if that was the case, but a lot of people were stunned over that outcome. So where do you go? What does that look like? What's the feeling? What's the sentiment? We won't know. And unfortunately for Bryan Danielson, he's now out 6 to 8 weeks with that broken wrist. But now, according to his wife, Brianna, it might be even longer. It might be even longer because they showed an x-ray and it looks like the bone itself came clean off. Like, it's that bad. The x-ray looks horrible. So Danielson might not be back for maybe 4 months now. They were saying 6 to 8. That might just be, I think that might be premature. It could be even worse. So thoughts and prayers to Bryan Danielson. Incredible main event. Anthony Florio, it's yours.
Second best fight of the night here, 4.25 to 4.5 stars. The main event of the evening was arguably the most anticipated match we will see all year. MF. Bryan Danielson entered the arena to his old entrance music, the Final Countdown by Europe. Are you kidding me?
Yep, that's the original Ring of Honor theme song. And yes, I did mark out like a crazy man when I heard that music.
Not as much as I did, but then again, we both did, because hello, that's one of our favorite songs. So yeah, it's one of our favorite songs. We in that sense, I do the lead on that. MF comes in with that killer background vocal there. I mean, if we ever recorded it, you'd have to hear our version of it. Because it's that damn good. But the fans were chanting, "This is awesome," before they even made any contact. They locked up and immediately began trading holds, counters, and takedowns as the crowd switched to a much less PG chant. And even though they were working at a brisk pace and making everything look good, you could see they were pacing themselves and saving the big spots for later in the bout. And after a long struggle to get it locked in, Danielson made Okada tap out to win the match and completely shocked the crowd. A lot of people seemed surprised by this outcome, but once it sunk in, everyone gave both men a round of applause. This might not have reached the same level of excitement as Ospreay and Omega, but this match was as technically sound as it gets. This probably will not be their only encounter. It's a 4.25 to 4.5 star match. It's the second best fight of the night. So, as far as the overall review here goes, I'll say it like this. As a whole, the second edition of Forbidden Door was a huge success. The crowd was hot, the matches were intense, and a few of the outcomes were genuinely surprising. Obviously, this is going to be subjective, but the fight of the night was obviously Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. They took each other to the limit and produced something completely different from their first match at Wrestle Kingdom. Even if you could pinpoint the weakest match on the card, it was not bad. Everyone showed up on Sunday night to put on a great show, and they did just that. CM Punk getting such a negative reaction will serve his inevitable heel turn well. And speaking of heel turns, Jungle Boy finally took the plunge and him attacking Hook is going to kick off a fun feud between those two young studs. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley's story isn't over, and it looked like there was some unfinished business between Sting and Chris Jericho at the end of their trios bout. And we saw both of those. We saw some of those storylines continue tonight on Dynamite. And who knows, maybe more to come Friday on Rampage or even Saturday on Collision. The presentation of this show was top-notch, and we were left with a handful of memorable matches. So the consensus, I'm going to go with what the consensus has been giving it. This was about a 9 out of 10. And to sum it all up, Excalibur said it best. And MF, I know you'll agree with Excalibur with what he said here. And if he didn't say it, I was going to say it myself. He said, and I quote, "Forbidden Door was a love letter to fans of professional wrestling." That's exactly what it was. Exactly what it was. So Longfellow could not have said it any better. So this was a good 9 out of 10 for me. So MF, your thoughts, and then we'll get into week 2 of NXT Gold Rush.
Yeah, it was a great matchup, no doubt about it. It was a 9 out of 10, no doubt about it. Could be event of the year. We'll wait and see how it plays out. What the rest of it is going to look at, but let's go right into it. So, time for NXT Gold Rush, week 2. Started off with the NXT Women's Title, Tiffany Stratton versus Thea Hale, winner of the bout in 9 minutes and 8 seconds, and still the NXT Women's Champion was Tiffany Stratton. Great opener. Very good match. Look, this was a solid match that protects Thea in a way because, with Charlie Dempsey, with all that stuff that was outside the ring. And there was a moment where you had Thea locking in that Kimura lock and Tiffany was tapping out. If the referee would have saw it, we would have had a new champion. But because of the interference by Dempsey, with all that stuff outside the ring, she loses the match because of a roll-up, 1, 2, 3. Great storytelling. And to get Andre Chase back is great. Looks like Chase University is back where it needs to be. And I actually enjoyed it. I thought this was a solid matchup. Great performance by Tiffany Stratton. First major title defense on a quality, I guess you could say quality event, because this is not your traditional NXT. I thought they did really well with this. So 3 stars. Anthony, it's yours.
This was so much better than it had any right to be. The two women fought hard and kept the crowd invested throughout. Thea Hale kept up with the top woman in NXT to the point that she looked like she could genuinely win the title. In the end, it was too soon for the upset, but the match set up an exciting Chase U reunion. The group is so much better with the professor at its head. Hopefully, Duke Hudson and Andre Chase can get back to tag team title contention, while Thea Hale can go from a breakout performance to a serious long-term push in NXT. I think we're looking at a Andre Chase and Duke Hudson versus Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey tag bout down the road. So that's really all I can say on it. So I'm going to give it a solid 3 stars. So with that being said, MF set me up for the next matchup.
It was for the NXT tag team titles. The Gallus Boys goes up against Malik Blade and Idris Analfi. And it was Gallus successfully defending their titles in 13 minutes and 18 seconds.
3 1/4, 3 1/2. These two tag teams have solid chemistry, though a couple of miscues kept this from the top gear. It did look like Anafi and Blade were poised to win. It was not surprising that they lost. The feud of the family versus Gallus remains the big story of the tag team division. Until Tony D'Angelo is out of jail and Stack's motivations are clear, Gallus will hold on to the titles. So 3 1/4, 3 1/2 stars. MF, your thoughts?
Yeah, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, no doubt about it. Solid matchup. Like you said, I think we're gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. But Gallus still runs the roost as tag team champions. All right, next up we had was Nathan Frazier and Dragon Lee in the NXT Heritage Cup, and the winner of the bout, 2 falls to 1 in with 1 second remaining in round number 5, it was Nathan Frazier. Excellent match. Now, Nathan Frazier took an early lead, had the 1-0 lead. When he got the pin about a minute 9, uh, it got the a minute 9 into round 2. So he won it 1 minute 9 seconds in round 2. That went up 1-0. Then almost immediately, Dragon Lee got it back in round 4. That basically gave us the setup. And it looked like we were about to go to the end of round number 5. However, Nathan Frazier did get the pin just in the nick of time with 1 second left in round 5. But remember, in this matchup, there's 6 rounds of 3 minutes apiece, and he got it in round 5. He wins it at the end. For me, best Heritage Cup match in the US. So amazing matchup. I'll even say maybe you can even go as far as maybe 3.5. Anthony, it's yours.
3.5 to 4 for me. I mean, if the first defense is anything to go by, Nathan Frazier is going to make the NXT Heritage Cup must-watch television for months to come. It is so good to see him go in long matches regularly. This was pure energy from the opening bell. The two sold the stipulation well, and a pay-per-view quality encounter that was almost too good for NXT TV. Even with a pair of roll-ups as deciding falls and limited selling from both competitors, this was exactly what the Gold Rush show needed. And this is one of the many highlights and one of the many matches that fans need to watch from this show. No question about that. So there isn't, I don't know what else there is for me to say. So 3.5 to 4, one of the fights of the night for sure. So you can certainly make an argument for fight of the night if you wanted to. So with that, set me up for the next match, MF.
All right, and then it is Kiana James versus Gigi Dolan. Gigi Dolan winning the match in 9 minutes and 4 seconds.
3 stars. This was not bad and was given more time than expected. The two told the complete story of Kiana James' inability to outmatch Gigi Dolan, but it clearly showed the limitations of both women. Gigi Dolan needs to step up her pace in the ring. She moves too slow, telegraphing her own offense. Kiana James has improved, but her moveset remains frustratingly generic. This was better than Gigi Dolan's first 2 matches with JC Jane, but that is an unfortunately low bar. Given this rivalry is going to continue, these two need to spend time in the Performance Center building up chemistry. I will give it 3 stars for the effort, but that's just me telling it like it is, like I always do. So 3 for me. MF, your thoughts?
3 for me as well. I thought it was a solid matchup. I thought they did a really good job with it. Nothing more to really write home about, though. Next thing we had was the main event: Carmelo Hayes versus Baron Corbin, who now goes back to the Lone Wolf gimmick. Thank you, God. They did something smart on that one. NXT title on the line. Carmelo Hayes winning the match in 16 minutes and 32 seconds. Fight of the night. Great matchup. 4 stars for me. They could have gone a lot more, but they did what they needed to do. It was amazing. I loved it. Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
About damn time they brought him back as the Lone Wolf. I absolutely had it with that, Constable, bum ass, happy Corbin nonsense. I'm so glad they're bringing him back as the Lone Wolf. That's what got him over in the first place. And after a couple of uneven performances, Baron Corbin had by far his best performance of 2023. This started as an athletic exchange, but slowly evolved into a David versus Goliath battle in which Melo fought for openings against his much larger opponent. While the A Champion's talent has never been in question, he just gave a main roster star the boost he has been missing from the supposed top guys in WWE. That is proof of his lasting value. Corbin will likely now head back to Friday Night SmackDown, but hopefully he keeps his Lone Wolf edge. This brief NXT run made him look more like a threat again. He needed that. I agree with you. 4 4 stars for me as well. Fight of the night. And as far as overall goes, this is about as good as NXT can possibly get. It may still not quite compare to Friday Night SmackDown or Monday Night Raw at their peaks, but this was an easy watch from start to finish that elevated multiple stars. Carmelo Hayes and Baron Corbin absolutely delivered in the main event. Some will argue they still did not win the Match of the Night award, because some will argue that honor will go to Nathan Frazier and Dragon Lee for a contest that truly sold the Heritage Cup format to a fresh audience. And those two guys proved their value while also likely turning heads on the main roster. Tiffany Stratton and Thea Hale also over-delivered, making the most of a rushed build while setting the stage for a rematch that could be even better. There were no duds throughout the night, which is shocking considering this day and age of NXT. And the pacing of the night allowed every bout the time it needed. The stories continued to move forward across the roster, but the Gold brand avoided the usually overwhelming number of backstage segments that highlight a typical NXT. This was a special event and likely not the standard for every week. However, NXT can deliver shows like this every week. It is all up to keeping a slower pace while giving time to the key matches. I never thought I would give a rating like this for an NXT show, but I'm about to do it. 8 to 8.5 out of 10. Very good show from top to bottom. And the one thing that, I didn't really have any desire to see, which was that schism family drama there, but we actually did get a payoff out of that.
Yeah.
Because the Dyad, Fowler and Reed, are going to be going up against the Creeds Tuesday night, and the losing team is gone from NXT. Loser leaves NXT. So we did get a payoff there. So, and perhaps this is where the Dyad loses, because the Dyad have been wanting out. Maybe this is their out right here. So that's all I can say on that. 8.5 out of 10 for me. I could say maybe the best NXT of 2023 so far. So not much more to say on this. MF, your thoughts, and then we'll get into AEW Dynamite from the arena formerly known as the Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which we all remember was best known for hosting the inaugural Royal Rumble event in 1988, which was a TV special on the USA Network and not on pay-per-view until the following year.
Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it. You know what? 8.5 to 9. I'll go that far. Like you said, best NXT show of the year. No arguments with that. And now we do go into AEW Dynamite. Started off with Tomohiro Ishii versus Jon Moxley. Moxley winning the match in 15-10. This was a strong opener. Back and forth, we all expected it. It was an amazing matchup, to say the very least. This is easily 3.5 stars. So really nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Be a man fight, wouldn't you say, MF?
Absolutely, yes.
That's what it was. A brutal, hard-hitting, punishing match saw Jon Moxley go it alone and ultimately score a grueling win over the Stone Pitbull. The match was as good as you would expect given their previous encounters, and along the way wrote the latest chapter in the story of Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, who continues to be critical of his friend for the way he conducted business in the gang. That feud continued to the backstage area, where a tense confrontation ended with Jon Moxley's wife, Renee Paquette, splitting them up and demanding Kingston fix things. I mean, MF, we've known Renee Paquette since her days as Renee Young in WWE. We always knew her as a happy-go-lucky, Mary Sunshine kind of gal. But did you see that intensity and fire out of her tonight? Where did that come from?
This was a first. I don't think we've ever seen that come out of her before. So, yeah, that was a welcome surprise. But then again, she had every right to be pissed off. She had every right. She's seen this. She knows how tight Moxley and even she was even saying, what is wrong with you? She knows that this was not John. This wasn't the same Jon Moxley from the past. So she had every right to say what she said. So, no.
When I saw that, I was like, damn, girl. I was like, wow. I'm like, that is not the Renee Paquette that I remember from her days in WWE, because like I said, she was always so bubbly, so happy-go-lucky, and a Mary Sunshine kind of gal.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not what we saw here tonight. That was, I think that was the Jon Moxley side of her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Agreed.
That's all I'm gonna say. I'm other than the big announcement that was made tonight, that was my personal takeaway from this show here tonight. I mean, I'm gonna remember that for a while. I mean, they say a woman's beautiful when she's angry. Well, she was a knockout here, no doubt about it. Good for you, Renee. Good for you. That was awesome. So, but anyways, 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. I could even make an argument for 4. That's how good this match was. I mean, this was a be a man fight, hard hitting. MF, this was your kind of match. This was an MF special, honestly, because it was physical, smash mouth, hard hitting, in your face. That's exactly how MF likes his wrestling, whereas I like the technical aspect of it. But anywho, the hell with it. I'm pulling it. 4 stars. Incredible match. So that being said, MF, let's move on to the next relevant thing here.
Six-man tag team fight. Orange Cassidy, El Hijo de Vecino, and Keith Lee versus 3 members of the Jericho Appreciation Society. Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, and Daniel Garcia. It was the face team winning the match in 13 minutes and 25 seconds. Anthony, it's yours.
I'll be honest with you. This was my sleeper fight of the night here. I'm actually going to give this 3.5 stars. The odd trio of the AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy, Keith Lee, and the AAA Mega Campeón El Hijo del Vikingo defeated the JAS's Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker in a fun, action-packed match that did little to affect ongoing storylines, but featured some solid performances throughout. All right, now, here's another guy that MF knows way more than I do, because this is another promotion he follows a lot more religiously than I do. AAA, of course, El Hijo del Vikingo, the reigning AAA Mega Campeón, and has been so for the last 571 days. Impressive. Vikingo. I'm gonna tell it like it is, MF, on this. Vikingo, in particular, continues to impress whenever the cameras are on him, and the interactions he had with Daniel Garcia teased a match that could be a ton of fun, and given some time and the slightest iota of backstory. The biggest takeaway? How inconsequential the Jericho Appreciation Society has become. Why doesn't it matter when Garcia and company drop a trios match like this? Especially when cameras cut backstage for a promo featuring Chris Jericho. Not even a mention of his guys dropping a high-profile match. For better or worse, that faction is set dressing for Jericho, a group of cronies, and a little more. But 3.5 stars, fun match, and MF. I know you're not going to be surprised when I say this, as I give it to you. That Del Vikingo guy, I don't impress easy, but that young man continues to impress me every time I see him. It's a treat for me to watch him.
Dude, like you even said it, he is one of the best fighters in the world right now. A lot of people saying how, and if in the PWI, in the top 500, he's in the top 10, or I believe top 5. So this guy continues to strive and get better, match in and match out. There's no doubt in my mind that if he keeps up, he might end up being number 1 when it's all said and done. Even though I do believe now Will Ospreay maybe is in the lead after his performance, that he might end up being named the Wrestler of the Year in 2023. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of still to come, but this guy's awesome. And I'm so glad that the world is finally getting to see what I've known for the last 2 years, is that this guy is without a doubt the best wrestler in the world. So next up we had was, by the way, 4 stars. Next up we had was a 6-man tag team fight. The Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page, they went up against the Dark Order, John Silver, Evil Uno, and Alex Reynolds. And it was the Young Bucks and Hangman winning in 14-10. Solid match, good battle. I love the story they were telling in this matchup. This was when Hangman, the rivalry. Hangman was a member of the Elite. Then he aligned himself with the Dark Order for a little while. The Dark Order really was helping him at that time and was very loyal to him. Even though he never fully committed to the Dark Order, he was always there for them. No matter what the situation was, he was always there for them in that fight, in that battle, in that war, whatever, especially after the Elite betrayed him. And now he goes back to the Elite, and that is really where the story really takes a turn because of the fact that they felt like they were betrayed by Hangman to going back to the crew that that deserted him in the first place. I love the fact that he didn't want to mix it up with them. And the Young Bucks noticed that. They were getting angry at Hangman. They're like, yo, we got to win this match. You got to do something. Where, if you notice, John Silver kind of not really going to get involved. But if you notice, Evil Uno didn't hesitate. He pulled a few punches and actually attacked Hangman Adam Page. So did John Silver. John Silver also threw a couple of shots at Hangman. So they took it personal more than anything else. It was a really good personal storyline. Finally, Hangman had enough, finished the job that he needed to finish, and got the win. Obviously, Blackpool Combat Club showed up after the match, doing a vicious attack on him. And now, all of a sudden, they made the announcement that they were going to face them off, that they challenge them to Blood and Guts at the TD Garden 2 weeks from now. So TD Garden, Boston, Massachusetts, my God, you just got yourself the home run. You got the biggest match in AEW. Blood and Guts. 2 rings. That's a distant cage. That's almost the size of the Hell in a Cell is going to be engulfed in that ring. How the hell are they going to fit this in that arena? That's all I want to know. But anyway, nothing more to say. Anthony, this was a solid 3 to 3.5 star fight.
3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. The story of the match, Hangman. It was Hangman Adam Page. He may have hesitated to fight the Dark Order's Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds in a trios match, also featuring the Young Bucks. But he did shake off that emotional despair and ultimately score the win for his team. And the story of that match, bled over into the post-match activities as Hangman's former friends did nothing to help as the Blackpool Combat Club's John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli attacked the Elite and left them bloodied ahead of a challenge for Blood and Guts on the July 19th episode of AEW Dynamite. That's 3 weeks from tonight, not 2 MF, 3. We got to wait 3 weeks. I'm sorry. I mean, I know you want to get there. I know you're saying, as we always like to say, when something exciting is on the horizon, it can't get here fast enough. But you want 2? Sorry, buddy. You're going to have to wait 3. Sorry. But anyways, they attacked the Elite and they left them bloodied ahead of a challenge for Blood and Guts on the July 19th episode of Dynamite from the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. The match was solid and the challenge was solidly executed, even if it was a given. The only positive of yet another showdown between the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club, Blood and Guts should and better spell the end of it. So we'll wait and see on that. But man, oh man, is that going to be something else? I mean, the Blood and Guts at the TD Garden in Boston, in near our neck of the woods here, in 3 weeks. I mean, as we always like to say, it cannot come fast enough. I mean, we cannot wait to see it, and we'll have our review of that 3 weeks from tonight on this program. as part of Wednesday Night Madness, and I cannot wait to dissect every nook and cranny of that sucker. So that's it. So a 3.5 to 3 3/4 star match. So MF Blood and Guts coming to Boston, July 19th. Let's go. Move on.
All right. So next up we had was Ruby Soho. Owen Hart match tournament. However, the match postponed for a week. Dr. Britt Baker was a little bit under the weather, was unable to compete, and now we're going to have the match starting next week. So, so she basically squashed a local favorite from Canada, winning the match in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. We don't really need to talk about that. We can just move right on along. Main event was Darby Allin and Sting versus the Painmaker, Chris Jericho, and Sammy Guevara. And when it was all said and done, the winners of the bout in 13 minutes and 15 seconds was Sting and Darby Allin. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right. I got to be a little critical here. What should have been a fun garbage brawl was instead a rushed mess that never had nearly enough time to accomplish everything the stars had in mind. Instead of a coherent match that crescendoed with the much-anticipated showdown between Sting and Chris Jericho, we got a messy collection of spots before a brief taste of the awesomeness that could have been. Hopefully, all 4 stars get a chance to run this back, preferably in an opening match slot where they can be a little more methodical with what they are attempting to accomplish. So, but I will give it about 3.25 stars for the effort. And, but the good thing that came out of this was Sting at 64 years of age took another insane bump. I mean, bumping like he was 30 again when he dove through Sammy Guevara. I mean, on the table there. And I kept saying to myself, this guy is 64 years old and still taking bumps like this. I'm like, that's insanity. I mean, my respect for Sting just goes up and up and up even more than it did before. So, but solid, not overly spectacular. I'll give it 3.25, maybe 3.5 at best. So, not much more to say here. MF, I mean, my big takeaway from this, Sting diving off a ladder and threw Sammy Guevara on a table, despite the fact that he's 64 years old and still bumping like he's 30. Insane.
Yeah, incredible. I agree with everything you just said. It was a little bit of a mess. It wasn't that great of a match. It is a 3-star fight. I thought it was better than expected. Sting doing what he's doing is still amazing. Still, why he is one of the best in AEW, and there's no arguments with that. At the end of the day, it was a solid main event. So it was an okay main event. Let's give you the official rating. I'm gonna give this between 7.5 to 8. I thought it was a fine show. I thought they did really good. Certain areas was really, really good. Certain areas was like bad. There was only one real bad match, and that was the Ruby Soho match. Other than that, solid to good. Even some great. Main event, less to be desired, but it is what it is. Nothing more to say. Anthony, you got final say, and then tee us up on the content for tomorrow.
Absolutely. AEW had momentum on its side entering tonight's Dynamite and did a solid job of maintaining it with a mostly good broadcast. Tomohiro Ishii and Jon Moxley brought the physicality while the Eddie Kingston storyline continued to play out. There was the moral dilemma between Hangman Adam Page and the Dark Order, a fun trios match, and the introduction of the Jungle Boy Jack Perry heel persona. The biggest disappointment was the main event, though one would be hard-pressed to blame that on the competitors, given the lack of time they had to deliver all that they likely wanted to. Where the Jericho-Sting saga goes from here, whether Dark Order will repair its friendship with Hangman, how Adam Cole and World Heavyweight Champion MJF will get along as tag team partners in the upcoming Blind Eliminator Tournament, which is, oh, by the way, their version of the Lethal Lottery. MF and I always had fun with that back in the day. And if Ruby Soho can can beat Dr. Britt Baker bear watching in the coming weeks. Overall, a good show that should help set up the next handful of weeks worth of television. 7.5 to 8 out of 10. I 100% agree with MF's rating. Fight of the night for me was Ishii and Moxley. And the other matches were solid to good to great. Main event, a little disappointing, but it was still a solid match. One dud match, that was the Ruby Delicious squash of Alexia Nicole. But and then a couple of good other good things here and there. Renee Paquette, her angry side, you won't like her when she's angry, let me tell you. So, but all kidding aside, 7.5 to 8 out of 10. All right. As far as TXN Sports World is concerned, I do have, before I lay down the table, I actually have the next few weeks worth of content here because, you know, a lot of things are going down. I found out a lot of things that are going to be upcoming, and we're going to be getting into those here. Starting tomorrow night, it'll be our annual NBA Draft Recap Edition. You know how we do it, just like with the NFL Draft. It'll be our team-by-team grades and how everybody did. And then from there, time permitting, MF will get into his we'll have the latest Big Three report from good old MF Michael Fletcher, as he will have the results of all Week 1 games and set the table for what we can expect this weekend in week number 2 of the Big Three. And then in our main event, we will preview the USFL championship game that goes down this Saturday night on NBC. The Pittsburgh Maulers squaring off against good old MF's Birmingham Stallions. MF's team has a chance to make it 2 for 2, while the Pittsburgh Maulers will look to shock the world on Saturday night. We'll see if they can do it. So that's this week. As far as the following week is concerned on TXN Sports World, the NHL schedule came out. You know, we'll break that down. MF will have, and then we'll have MF do. He'll recap week 2 of the Big Three, set the table for week 3, and recap the USFL championship. And I believe on that show we will also be previewing the MLB Home Run Derby. If all the competitors are announced by then next week. And then in the following week, on July 12th, we're going to be recapping the MLB Home Run Derby, the MLB All-Star Game, and the ESPY Awards. Yes, the ESPY Awards are going down in 2 weeks on July 12th. So a lot of big things coming on TXN Sports World. But for tomorrow night's show, NBA Draft Recap, MF's Week 1 recap of the Big Three and preview of Week 2, and our preview of the USFL Championship, the Pittsburgh Maulers and the Birmingham Stallions. So that's tomorrow night, TXN Sports World, 10:30, Tone 25. Be there or be square. So not much more to say. MF hit him with the rest of the future content, which is just as exciting.
Then on Friday, we actually are going to do a 2-part here. So we're going to start off with SmackDown Live, and we'll be we're going to be previewing the Money in the Bank event that will be held at the O2 Arena in London. Then from there, Saturday, we will recap the said Money in the Bank and also recap AEW Collision. So yeah, back-to-back nights of the Cerebral Smack Talk. So just like Gold Rush, part 1 on Friday, part 2 on Saturday, both at 10:30. And then we do it all over again with Ridiculously Raw on Monday night. So until then, for Anthony Florio, I am Michael Fletcher. Thank you, everybody. Like the video, leave a comment at the bottom, share with all your friends on all the social media platforms around the world. And until then, we'll see you tomorrow night. So long, everybody.
Goodbye.